We have before you tonight was an item that came before the Public Works Finance Committee last week regarding the improvements, public improvements that are being proposed to be placed in front of the EMSI building, the former News Review building along Jackson Street in Moscow. This is a building that now houses EMSI. It is owned by a limited liability company, 409 South Jackson Street, LLC. Mark Wentz is the managing partner for that project. It was to be, the project was to improve the street, and I'm sorry I don't have a diagram. I wasn't aware that that wasn't on the presentation tonight. But as it has been, I hope I'm not doing that. But as it is, it widens the sidewalk in front of the MSI building. It adds a new curb line, extends the sidewalk, puts in tree wells, new trees about 5 feet off the public right-of-way, tree grates, and new luminaires or street lights. So it'll give it a much more urban feel along the backside of that Jackson Street. So that was presented to our Public Works Finance Committee, and the funding for that project, which is right around $100,000. We have a GEM grant that was applied for. $50,000 was granted. About $17,900 of that was used for a fiber installation project into the facility, leaving a balance of about $32,000 available for the sidewalk and public right-of-way improvements. Sidewalk program would be tapped for about $5,000. Streetlight program for about $14,000. Arts program for about $4,100. That's our tree grate program, and then the contribution from the developer would be about $45,000. When it was presented to Public Works Finance, the question came up, what would it cost to extend the project from just in front of the old News Review building all the way north to the edge of the Salvation Army building, thrift store just north of that.
North edge.
Yeah, distance of about 83 feet. We looked into that. Les McDonald ran some numbers on that, and essentially what it entails would actually be a pretty good deal for the city, because if we were just going with the original project, a new catch basin would have to be installed at a fairly significant expense. There is a catch basin that already exists to the north of this project and could continue to be used, and the excess water would be routed at the curb line and then picked up at a catch basin to the south of the EMSI project. In essence, the difference with the saved cost for not having to fix or replace the catch basin is about $11,000. So that would be the amount of money that would be the impact to the city. According to Les's calculations, we would propose that the pavement management program could cover approximately $3,000 of that, our sidewalk program $5,000, and streetlight program around $900. So that's where we'd find the funding for that. Because that is a state right-of-way, Highway 95, the ITD folks, Dave Quisty, the district engineer, and his folks had approved the previous design. We knew that it takes a while to get any sort of design approved, so Scott Bontrager, the acting Public Works Director, Bill Belknap, and I traveled to Lewiston this morning, met with Dave Quisty and his deputy or assistant district engineer, Doral Hoff, showed them the design. They didn't think, or at least Dave didn't think, that posed much of a problem. However, of course, that depends on how the final plans are done. We would also have approximately $900 in additional engineering costs. Scott Becker from Hodge & Associates designed the original project, and he has orally agreed with or verbally agreed with Les and Scott Bontrager that it would be about $1,000 to extend that design that additional 83 feet. So that's where we are. The cost is around $12,000 total. We do have a funding proposal. The URA, of course, is assisting in a developer participation agreement to reimburse the developer for his share of the development costs over a period of 10 years, depending on the increment that's generated from that project, specifically from that project. And I also think, as I pointed out to Public Works last week, there are no public improvements that are required by this remodel project. So the public improvements are being placed there to improve the sidewalk. The sidewalk, as you know, is, if it is ADA accessible, it is barely so. It's broken, very narrow. The tree wells are barely wide enough to get a wheelchair past the building, so on and so forth. So with that, what we're looking for is authorization to proceed with the extended project. I have had a discussion with Mr. Wentz. He indicates that once he gets the design, he thinks that it's a go. Of course, it's dependent upon him wanting to expand the project and being reimbursed by the city for that additional cost.
Bill?
And it's a very nice enhancement.
I'm sorry.
John, did you want to say something on this?
I had a question. Gary, how, with this change, what is the total number of parking places that we're going to lose with the extension moving from the west to the east from the building?
Bill can correct me, but I believe it's 5. Is it 6? Since it's extending north?
I think with the extended area, it could be up to 7.
Could it?
That would be net total for the whole project?
That's correct.
Good. Thank you.
Art?
Could you spend a moment and just describe what the benefits would be to the city for extending the fiber optics,
Into EMSI?
the extra?
Okay. The benefits, it was entirely a economic development proposal. When we approached the Department of Commerce under the GEM grant, the idea was to assist EMSI in making the facility accessible to them. They're very data-driven. They need state-of-the-art connectivity. So it was an easy sell to the GEM grant folks. They indicated that, and the cost was fairly minimal because we already had fiber, I believe, in 6th Street, as I recall. So it was a matter of bringing it over from the alley on in. So the benefits are purely economic development. But it is a public fiber, and they are available. Council may recall that Council was the one who, when we came forward with the agreement several months ago, Council had questions on the amount of fiber that needed to be dedicated to EMSI's use and how much extra fiber capacity there would be. Council authorized that agreement, and that's why we moved ahead.
So in other words, it's part of the URA concept, essentially, to extend that fiber up there for future use and infrastructure of the whole larger URA area.
Thank you for pitching me that softball. Yes. It is part of the overall Legacy Crossing project, which is the improvement of that area to enhance the economic development opportunities and hopefully provide some good development. Multi-use facilities, so on and so forth. So, yes, exactly so. And anyone who wants to access it can go read the Legacy Crossing development plan anytime they like. It's on our website.
Walter, you pulled this. Did you have some comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I pulled it because the question of extending north up Jackson Street to the Salvation Army driveway was brought up, I believe, by Dan at Public Works, and staff at that time indicated they would look into it. When I learned earlier today that they already had some relatively firm answers on it, I suggested that we get the information tonight and go ahead and, if we wish, move ahead on it, if that's the desire of the council.
Okay.
I just wanted to add to it, and I think Dan's idea is a good one, and I think that we're going to see this money coming back. I mean, I think it's going to add to the economic development of the district and add to our ability to attract more dollars coming into the city. So I think that's a good idea.
Dan?
I guess I'll make a motion then, since I thought of this. I'll take credit for it. Or blame, however you want to put it. Yeah, and that was what we were thinking, because that's a natural cutoff there because of the entrance into the Salvation Army's driveway for their parking there. So that was why we decided to at least go to that section. So with that, I would make a motion to approve the city's participation in the revised funding plan for the EMSI frontage improvements from and continuing that on north to the Salvation Army
I'll
approach.
second.
Okay, Dan made a motion to approve it. The MSI Jackson Street frontage improvements, item 1D on the consent agenda, with John Weber second. I'll start the roll with Art.
Aye.
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 Okay, and that passes, and we will move on. Thank you, Gary, very much.